Welcome to Quill Sword Blogcast. Lobbyist Liability, Suing the Middleman. In my anything but expert understanding, to bring a case before court, there has to be some kind of injury. It's not enough that Bob made you mad, there has to be something that actually hurt you, physically or financially, or in some demonstrable way. Yes, this has had some hilarious results over the years as lawyers contorted legal theories into fractals in order to get an injury so that they could get their client's grievance before a court. Judges have not always found that as amusing as I do, and the public much less so at times. But it can be funny, nonetheless. Still, the requirement exists for valid reasons to keep as many completely pointless cases out of the system as possible. Sometimes it even works. Occasionally it works a bit too well. Courts allow civil rights cases that have no obvious injury, sometimes not even a possibility of one, but then disallow cases where the aggrieved person is injured but lacks political power or is up against a more powerful interest. Yes, this is morally and legally wrong and one of the many things that need to be fixed in our judiciary. Government hides behind the extra-constitutional fiction of sovereign immunity. Corporations hide behind their armies of overpaid and under-talented lawyers. Judges dismiss on grounds of standing, another convenient fiction created in case law so the judiciary doesn't actually have to do its job. I might be a bit cynical. Nevertheless, slowly but surely, we plod along, yell and scream, fuss and fight, and finally get laws enacted or changed to what they should be. This is part and parcel of the muddling through of American government. The point being is that the good guys usually win in the end. Right until some lobbyist comes along and undermines the existing rules or gets lawmakers to enact laws that only their corporate clients can afford to abide. Then we're right back to where we started from, and worse, sometimes we find it out because some disaster happens in the meantime. Here's the thing. The system is supposed to be impartial, and the people that make up the system are supposed to respect that impartiality. The attentive among you will have noticed that we don't do that nearly as well as we should. Oh, and previous generations weren't miraculously immune to the temptation to stick a thumb on the scale, but we eventually reach the point where we, the people, decide it's time to rebalance the dang thing. The youngest generations seem convinced that they are supposed to fix the entire system. They can't change their own oil, balance a checkbook, or add without a calculator, but they just know how to miraculously fix the whole system, so it's rainbows and unicorns from here on out. Yeah, no, that's not how this works. Your job is to learn how to be good human beings first. Hint, dyeing your hair fluorescent colors and protesting mindlessly is not it. The American system has worked pretty danged well for nearly 250 years and managed to self-correct with exasperatingly slow but effective self-improvement more than once. It ain't the problem. We are. Instead of taking action to remedy out the out-of-kilter scales, we had become complacently tolerant of them. That's changing now, as the party system begins its shift. People aren't amused with the state of the union, and there will be some changes made. One of the changes we need to make is to get the thumbs off the scales. Corporations and wealthy people should not have an unfair advantage in the halls of Congress. I am not suggesting that one simple fix will do the whole job. It won't and it shouldn't. But we do need to make careful adjustments so that everyone, rich and poor, big and small, is represented fairly in our Congress. Lobbyists have long bridged the gap between a politician's power and their actual know-how. This isn't inherently bad. No person can be expert in everything. Congressmen do need industry resources to inform, not guide, their decisions. Of course, it goes hysterically wrong. Congressmen are as lazy as everyone else, but they also have the worst job performance reviews devised by man. To do the job, you have to have the job. And to have the job, you have to raise insane amounts of money to finance incredibly bad and overpriced job interviews called campaigns. Hilarity ensues, or at least it would be funny if it were a sitcom. But as a political system, it stinks. Representative government is great. It's awesome. Political campaigns are not. If you think I have a solution for that, let me talk to you first about some lovely oceanfront property in Tennessee I'd love to sell to you. But hopeless it is not, young grasshopper. We don't have to toss out the entire engine, but we do need a few new filters. The first I'd like to suggest is lobbyist responsibility. You wined and dined Senator Bob to get that new regulation that promptly, and we're so sure coincidentally, put your company's competition out of business. Senator Bob gets to explain that to his now unemployed constituents. But he's counting on your company to hire his consulting service after he's run out of office. We'll get to him later. You, Mr. Lobbyist, are not an innocent bystander in this corruption of the halls of Congress. You're the jerks painting the floors with grease. Why then should you not face the ultimate wrath of the aggrieved? The lawsuits. Oh, not alone. We see those deep pockets of that company you work for, too. But lobbyist firms aren't paupers, and they are instrumental to the injuries Congress inflicts on small business and individuals. Why exactly can't we, the taxpayers, reclaim at least part of the damages we end up paying after the mess finally comes to light from the lobbyists who created it? Companies that lead in regulation do so to their own benefit. So, if I'm wrong about that, they should have no issue with placing damages in escrow for a reasonable period, say a minimum of 10 years, while the regulations' effects play out and we find out just how much we're on the hook for. But not just the company. The lobbyists, if they are independent, should also be willing to pony up for these regulations they believe so strongly in. If things improve, they get all the money back. Heck, we might even consider offering in a bonus. But if it drives down competition and quality and injures small businesses and or individuals, we ditch the regulation and pay out the damages from the escrow. Seems fair to me. It will have a massive chilling effect on regulation, but only that being proposed by industries and companies in an effort to elbow out the competition, unable to foot the bill of the new regulation. This is a feature, not a bug. Congressmen want to look like they are doing something important so that you will vote for them again. Regulation requested by the industry is as close to a windfall as they're allowed to get. They look like they did something good, and no one really knows how stupid it was until the effects become impossible to miss, by which time the congressman has a cushy consulting job with the regulated industry. As you can see, there's a lot that needs adjusting here. But first and easiest is to make lobbyists party to the suits and liable for damages created by their machinations. The courts will hate it because they'll have to actually work for all that money that they make, but that's just a bonus. Companies will hate it because they'll have the horrible time finding lobbyists. Lobbyists will hate it because they will have to be much more careful about what they lobby for, and a lot of them will just have to go and find, real jobs. Dang, this just gets better and better, don't it?